Our media product targets conventions of a thriller by using loads of different techniques and theories such as costumes, shot type, the set, makeup, the time of day that we filmed our thriller, and all like the post-production, so the music and everything on top of that. We decided to use dark clothing for the antagonist and a white t-shirt and black jeans for the protagonist. The white t-shirt shows that, you know, she's like pure and on the good side, and then the black jeans kind of show that there's mystery behind it. And then we had the antagonist in like a dark uniform, showing that he is obviously the antagonist of the film. The makeup we used on the protagonist, we used water spray to make it look like she's sweating, so she's like running away from something, trying to get away from something, to give that impression. We also used fake blood to show what the antagonist had done, and she'd been like severely beaten by the antagonist. We had like half the makeup on and half the makeup off, so that she'd been through a lot, and she obviously hasn't, you know, been able to get out and stuff. The audience catches a glimpse of what has happened to her without actually seeing it happen. The set we chose was a derelict bomb shelter to get sort of an eerie feel, and we used lots of panning shots outside of the bomb shelter to show like the isolation, as in like where the bomb shelter is. It's an isolated place. We wanted the time of day to be sort of like late afternoon, just when the sun's starting to go down and it's a little bit dark, which shows that's like a convention of a thriller, because it's showing like the eerie feel and stuff. We used a lot of close-ups to show the expressions on the characters' faces, but we also use like mid to long shots to show the situation that the characters are in, and but we still get to see in detail the expressions on their faces, so the audience knows what's happening. We chose to put the film in black and white, so it's obvious, the colours are obvious. It challenges the thriller conventions, as colour in film represents like class and status of the characters, but we decided to put it in black and white as it represents the Helmut Nickel theory better, as it's you see the obvious darker and lighter colours as well. So in our thriller we've got the female who is the protagonist and the male who is the antagonist, which is quite sort of stereotypical, as women are seen as quite weak socially and men are seen as quite strong. She's a young woman, middle to higher class, so it's represented sort of as a positive character, and she's been antagonised by the male who is in a uniform, which shows that he is the stronger character, he is in control of the situation. He's more mysterious also because of his clothing, so the clothing represents like their social class, because the antagonist is dressed, as I said, in uniform, and the protagonist is in just a t-shirt and black trousers. so they're very, very different characters. As our film is based in the UK, there'd need to be quite a small distributor, and companies such as Metrodome do this. There's like small British films with a budget of 100,000 and 18 days to make, and this would be good for our film as it's a small thriller. The target audience for our film would be the older generation. This is due to the content, as our thriller wouldn't appear exciting or interesting for the much younger generation, because it's more violent and it's not appropriate for them, but someone of the older generation might think that it's interesting to watch, it's mysterious, you have to work things out, so to an older audience they'd find it much more interesting than someone of a much younger age who would much prefer to watch things like Disney and things like that. So our thriller, the target audience would be someone possibly between the age of 18 and then older, because it's quite interesting. It's what we've made it is an interesting film and it's mysterious, and they'd find it much more interesting than a younger person would. In our thriller, to attract and address our audience, we began with research to find what conventions in a thriller that people like, and then we took all of those into consideration whilst making and planning our thriller to start with. We asked people questionnaires, like what sort they like, why they like what bits of thrillers, and what interests them, and then we considered character personality. Are we going to use male or female, what costume we were going to use, music, and the costume we went with the helmet nickel theory, so we used the black or dark clothing to represent the antagonist, and then lighter clothing to represent the protagonist, so that's obvious to the audience. The location, we start off with a panning shot of the location to show the mystery of our thriller. We use non-diegetic sound and diegetic sound, and this hooks the audience. Our thriller hooks the audience by the mystery of it. You don't know why she's there. After we made our thriller and edited everything, we got some of our classmates to look at it and ask them questions about it, and they gave us constructive criticism, such as when it came to the technical part of our media thriller, we found that the software that we were going to use to meet all of the ideas that we had in the first place didn't all work out, as we started off with the idea that we were going to have a black and white piece, which we already have, but then we were going to have red in it as well, so black, white and red, like a piece of clothing that would be shown up as red, similar to the film Sin City that we based our idea around, and we thought it would be an original idea and different, but when it came to it, it was a lot harder than we first thought. So we ended up just having just our black and white theme, which I think personally worked well, whereas I would have, if it was ideal, I would have liked to have the red in it as well, because it was one of our main ideas for the thriller. The editing of the thriller is very time consuming, so we had to make sure that we had lots of time to edit around. Also, when we came to filming it, we had to make sure that the camera was charged up, because there had been a few times where we didn't have enough charge in the camera, so we had to postpone the recording, so it was hard to keep up with all of the technical, like the small technical hiccups that we had. We also learned what the most effective shot types would be to draw the audience in. We used a lot of panning shots just to show the setting, and as I said earlier, how isolated everything was. Close-ups, mid to long shots, all different types of shots just that we used and practiced with, just to see which one we thought was the most effective, which was a good way of doing it. Learning about the software also, what shortcuts we could use to edit, and how to add and cut sound clips to get them in time with the rest of the movie. How to overlay text as well. Learn all about how to do that. Using the tripod to steady the camera, we also used that, and also that helped with panning, because we could get a smooth path of the camera. And also, as I said, using lots of different shots to see which one was the best in post-production. Looking back on our preliminary task, all the shots aren't very smooth, and in our end product and our thriller, the match and action shots are a lot more smooth than in our preliminary task, and it just shows how much we have developed since our preliminary task.